Buffalo. Buffalo wings were created in 1964 from a delivery mistake. The Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York, received chicken wings instead of the parts they ordered. Instead of sending them back, Teresa Bellissimo fried them and covered them in hot sauce and butter. She had no plan. Americans now eat 1.4 billion buffalo wings on Super Bowl Sunday alone. One delivery mistake created an entire food category worth billions of dollars annually.
French fries. French fries are not French. They were invented in Belgium in the late 1600s when villagers along the Meuse River began frying small fish. When the river froze in winter and fish became unavailable, they cut potatoes into fish shapes and fried those instead. American soldiers stationed in Belgium during World War I encountered them, assumed they were French because the Belgian army spoke French, and brought the name home. Belgium has been correcting this mistake for over a century. Nobody is listening. McDonald's now sells more French fries every day than Belgium produces potatoes in a week.
Dubai chocolate croissant. Dubai chocolate became the most viral food trend of 2024 when a single TikTok video of someone cutting open a bar filled with pistachio cream and karaifi, shredded wheat pastry, generated over 50 million views in 1 week. The croissant version arrived within months. Bakeries across the United States, Britain, and Europe began filling croissants with pistachio paste and toasted karaifi and selling them for $10 to $18 each. A Dubai chocolate bar that originated at a small UAE company called Fix Dessert Chocolatier became a global pastry trend that generated millions in revenue for bakeries that had nothing to do with its invention. The original company could not keep up with demand. Everyone else did.
The BLT. The BLT is constructed under 2 minutes total. The bacon is seared crisp at extremely high heat. The inside remains loaded with fresh, cold tomatoes and crisp lettuce. The internal temperature never exceeds room temperature. It is called a classic in America because the combination delivers maximum flavor from simple ingredients without heat altering the fresh texture. Most diners will serve it, but won't reinvent it. Ordering a BLT with extra mayo is a reliable way to make a server respect your life choices.
Otoro. Fatty tuna belly, called otoro in Japanese, was thrown away or fed to cats in Japan until the mid-20th century. The high fat content caused it to spoil within hours of the catch, making it commercially worthless before refrigeration. Japanese fishermen discarded the most valuable part of the fish every single day for centuries. Refrigerated transport changed everything. The fat that made otoro spoil quickly is precisely what gives it a buttery texture that no other fish produces. The part of the tuna that fishermen threw away now sells for thousands of dollars per kilogram at Tokyo's Toyusu market. The cats ate better than they knew.
Bacon. Bacon is the most powerful food marketing tool ever created. Restaurants discovered in the 1980s that adding bacon to any item on the menu increased sales regardless of what the item was. Bacon milkshakes sold, bacon donuts sold, bacon on salad sold. The United States produces over 2 billion pounds of bacon per year and still imports more. Bacon was not always a breakfast food. A marketing campaign in the 1920s paid doctors to recommend hearty breakfasts and specifically mentioned bacon. One campaign over 100 years ago permanently changed what an entire country eats every morning.
Oxtail. Oxtail is the tail of a cow, now almost exclusively from beef cattle rather than actual oxen. It is composed of vertebrae surrounded by thick connective tissue and a small amount of meat that releases intense gelatin when cooked for hours. Oxtail stew appears in Jamaican cuisine, Korean cuisine, Italian cuisine, and across the African continent simultaneously, because every culture that raised cattle independently discovered that the tail, simmered long enough, produced a richer broth than any other cut. Oxtail prices were negligible 50 years ago because it was considered a throwaway cut. Demand from global diaspora communities and restaurant culture has made it one of the more expensive cuts at specialist butchers.
Chorizo. There are two completely different foods both called chorizo, and they share almost nothing except the name. Spanish chorizo is cured, dried, and ready to eat straight from the package. Mexican chorizo is raw, loose ground meat that must be cooked before eating. Ordering one while expecting the other is a guaranteed disaster. Spanish chorizo gets its red color from smoked paprika. Mexican chorizo gets its red color from dried chili peppers. Same name, different continent, completely different food.
Kimchi.
South Korea produces and consumes more kimchi per capita than any other country produces of any single fermented food. The average Korean household goes through 18 kilograms per year. In 2010, UNESCO added kimchi making, called kimjang, to the Intangible Cultural Heritage list. When South Korea sent astronauts to the International Space Station, the government spent 3 years and millions of dollars developing a space-safe version of kimchi before allowing their astronaut to leave Earth without it. A fermented cabbage dish was considered important enough to require its own space program research division.
Deviled eggs. Deviled eggs have been eaten since ancient Rome, where boiled eggs were seasoned with spicy sauces and served as appetizers. The word deviled entered cooking vocabulary in the 18th century to describe anything prepared with hot or spicy seasonings. Americans eat more deviled eggs at Easter than at any other time of year because Easter egg dyeing produces dozens of hard-boiled eggs that need to be used immediately. The classic filling is mayonnaise, mustard, and paprika. In the American South, showing up to Easter dinner without deviled eggs is considered a personal failure.
New York cheesecake. New York cheesecake was invented by accident. In 1872, a New York dairy farmer trying to replicate French Neufchâtel cheese over-enriched his mixture with cream and produced something denser and richer than anything Europe had made. By the 1900s, Jewish delis on the Lower East Side were serving thick slices on every counter in the city. The formula never changed. Cream cheese, eggs, sugar, vanilla, and a graham cracker base. No water bath, no gelatin, no shortcuts. Every lighter cheesecake made anywhere in the world exists in apology for not being this one. Blooming onion. The blooming onion was invented by Outback Steakhouse in 1988 and has never left the menu because it cannot leave the menu. Removing it would cause a customer revolt. A single whole onion is cut into over 100 petals without separating the base, battered and deep fried until it opens like a flower. One blooming onion contains over 1,900 calories before the dipping sauce. The dipping sauce adds another 200. Outback sells approximately 40 million blooming onions per year. Food critics have called it excessive, nutritionally irresponsible, and completely impossible to stop eating once started. All three descriptions are accurate simultaneously. Pizza Margherita. Pizza Margherita was created in Naples in 1889 for Queen Margherita of Savoy during a royal visit. The pizzaiolo made 3 versions. The Queen chose tomato, mozzarella, and basil, the colors of the Italian flag, and he named it after her. But here's what nobody tells you. Neapolitan pizza existed for decades before the Queen arrived. Her visit simply gave one combination a royal name that stuck forever. The most famous pizza in the world was named after a queen who did not invent it. We broke down every single pizza style: NY, Chicago, Detroit, and more. Birria tacos. Birria is a Mexican stew from Jalisco. It existed for 500 years as wedding food. In 2019, a Los Angeles taco truck started dipping tortillas in the braising liquid before grilling them. Someone filmed it. The video went viral. Within 6 months, birria trucks had opened in every major American city. Within 2 years, every Mexican restaurant in the country had birria on the menu. A 500-year-old stew became the most Googled taco in America. The reason it went viral was not the flavor. It was the dip. Someone dipped a tortilla in the wrong pot and changed the entire taco industry.
Chicken Kiev. Chicken Kiev has been the subject of a naming dispute between Russia and Ukraine for over a century. The dish, a chicken breast filled with herbed butter, breaded and fried so the butter remains molten inside, was likely developed in French-influenced Russian restaurants in the early 20th century. Ukraine claims the name based on the city. Russia claims the preparation technique. The dispute became politically significant when restaurants across Europe and America removed Chicken Kiev from menus or renamed it Chicken Kyiv in solidarity with Ukraine following the 2022 Russian invasion. A butter-filled chicken dish became a geopolitical statement overnight. The butter inside has remained unchanged throughout the entire debate.
Korean mozzarella corn dog. The Korean corn dog uses rice flour batter instead of cornmeal, producing a chewier, lighter exterior than the American original. The potato cube coating, small cubes of raw potato pressed into the batter before frying, creates a textured surface that crisps into something between a hash brown and a crouton surrounding the dog. The mozzarella version stretches to lengths that make every eating experience a social media moment, whether intended or not. Korean corn dog shops began opening in American cities in 2020 and generated lines that suggested the country had been waiting for this specific product without knowing it existed. A Korean reinvention of a 1942 Texas State Fair invention went viral 80 years later. Beef Wellington. Beef Wellington is a beef tenderloin coated in mushroom duxelles and wrapped in puff pastry, then baked until the pastry is golden and the beef is medium rare inside. Nobody can confirm who invented it or why it is named after the Duke of Wellington. Fruit historians have searched for a connection for decades and found none. The Duke himself left no record of eating it. Gordon Ramsay built a significant portion of his television career around perfecting this dish. A recipe with no confirmed origin became the benchmark by which professional chefs are judged globally.
Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts contain TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a petroleum-derived preservative that extends shelf life significantly. The European Union permits TBHQ but restricts the maximum allowable concentration to levels lower than what American food manufacturers commonly use. Japan and several other countries have stricter limits or require additional labeling. Kellogg's has never reformulated American Pop-Tarts to reduce TBHQ content, despite international standards trending towards stricter limits over the past 2 decades. A toaster pastry sold continuously since 1964 contains a preservative whose acceptable concentration varies significantly depending on which country's food safety agency evaluated it most recently.
Caviar. In 19th century American saloons, black caviar was served free at the bar alongside pretzels and peanuts. The logic was simple. Caviar is intensely salty. Salt makes people thirsty. Thirsty people buy more drinks. Russian fishermen on the Volga ate it daily because sturgeon were everywhere, and caviar was what you scooped out before selling the fish. Overfishing destroyed the sturgeon population. Scarcity arrived. Prices exploded. A free bar snack designed to increase alcohol consumption became one of the most expensive foods on Earth because the fish that produced it nearly disappeared entirely.
CASU MARZU. CASU MARZU is a Sardinian sheep's milk cheese that contains live maggots. The cheese is made by allowing pecorino to ferment beyond normal aging, then introducing cheese flies whose larvae digest the fats and produce a soft, creamy texture with a sharp flavor that regular pecorino cannot achieve. The maggots are translucent, approximately 8 millimeters long, and still alive when the cheese is eaten. Some people remove them before eating. Most Sardinians consider this unnecessary. The European Union banned CASU MARZU for sale in 2002 on food safety grounds. Sardinia continued making it anyway under traditional food protections. A cheese that requires live insects to exist is illegal in most of Europe and considered a cultural treasure in the region that invented it.